Hi, I'm Wes Doss from Khyber. I've got kind of a diverse background between both law enforcement and military, so I've got kind of a different perspective on things sometimes, a different way of looking at things, I suppose. Uh, what I wanted to talk about was this current shift, this current trend of the swap out to the 9mm cartridge versus any other caliber that's ever been utilized by law enforcement in history. And does it really make a significant difference? I guess it could. Uh, in some instances, it probably does. It probably assists with smaller shooters and an ability to get greater hits during qualifications. But the size of a caliber, what we used to be concerned about with more so than anything else was the terminal performance of that caliber and the terminal performance of that round, much more over how easy it was to shoot. I left the military shooting a .45. I started civilian law enforcement shooting a .357 Magnum. So to look at a 9mm and say that we've got to have something that just is easier to shoot, to me sometimes is just kind of mind-boggling. Today, with the development of cartridges the way that they are, bullet designs, so on and so forth, literally everything's doing almost exactly the same thing when it's shot into a ballistic gelatin, test and evaluation type scenario. There really isn't that big a difference. The only difference that really comes about is recoil management, and then obviously how many rounds we can stuff inside that magazine. And that seems to be the overwhelming consideration in a lot of instances. I have been fortunate enough, though, here in the last couple of years to run into a lot of departments that have not switched over yet. They haven't given up their .40 cals. They haven't given up their .45s. There's a lot of agencies out that are still pushing these other calibers with tremendous success. They're using them successfully. Their officers are proficient at them. Their officers are qualified, which seems to be the number one concern that most departments have got. In that, I think that becomes part of the problem, in that most of our outlook, most of what we're looking at, how we're considering it, isn't so much the overall terminal ballistics of that round and what it does when it hits flesh. It's how frequently and how reliably are we able to keep our officers qualified. How are we able to keep them employed year after year after year? How successful are we at that? And that seems to be the overall consideration, where maybe time would be spending more time working with our officers to make them more proficient with whatever caliber we're carrying. I think we need to take a serious look at things and maybe put some greater thought into that, and maybe throw some more energy back towards the training side and have less concern towards just what it takes to keep people qualified year after year.